This is Graffham, and you'll find it in Cambridgeshire. It's controlled by Anglian Water. Now, Graffham was created back in the 1960s, along with a number of other very important reservoirs that became stocked with trout. Its role in modern trout fishing has been nothing short of pivotal, and it's carried on shaping and influencing modern trout fishing ever since. But perhaps Graffham's greatest contribution is that whereas once trout fishing was the property of the elite, Graffham brought trout fishing to the masses. One of the best things about modern day Graffham is the facilities. On site you'll find a superb tackle shop. They sell a range of flies, lines and other items of fly tying and fly fishing tackle. The restaurant is excellent. It's got good toilet facilities, good food, and it's got a superb view overlooking the lake. And remember, when you come to Graffham, don't be afraid to ask. If you want to know about the flies that are hatching, the artificials to match them, or which of the hot spots on the lake are fishing well at the moment, then there are plenty of people on hand, only too willing to help. Well, as you can see, it's an absolutely fantastic day here at Graffham, a beautiful day for fishing. And it's an interesting fact that Anglian Water, during the main part of the trout season, stocked 2,000 fish a day here at Graffham. Now that may seem like a lot, but when you consider that this water behind me is the best part of 2,000 acres, the fishing isn't a pushover, so I thought I'd bring in an expert. Now, some of you may be new to boat fishing, you might not have tried it before, I know that some of you have. So I've tried to find someone who can give advice to newcomers and experienced people alike. And who better than current world fly fishing champion, Ian Barr. Morning, Ian.
Morning, mate.
How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, thank you. Not so bad.
Well, I'm really looking forward to today. I've fished Graffham water before, but only for predators.
Yeah.
I've never actually trout fished, believe it or not. And you know, when I look at a great big sheet of water like this, I think, where are we going to catch a fish in that?
Well, you've got about 1,300 acres to choose from, Matt, so as you can see, it's a big, big venue. First bit of advice probably is speak to the bailiffs. I mean, they're here every day, they can tell you where the fish are. And if you look over your left shoulder, you can probably see about 20 boats in one little area. That's a bit of a key, but I'm looking at the birds, you can see the terns picking up the flies. I know there's some good sheltered little islands off here, and based on experience, I'm probably going to head top left-hand shore, but the boat's going to give it away for us. There's 20 boats in one area. It's an obvious sign.
Yes, I noticed the Armada. What about the tactics today, Ian?
Okay, I've gone for two approaches. The first one, I've got a 3-foot clear mini tip with a team of 4 epoxy buzzers, and that's probably one of the most well-known is a plain black crisp buzzer. So this is more natural approach. 4 buzzers are going to get down quite deep because the water's still very, very cold after the harsh winter. So I want to anchor these buzzers down nice and deep, despite it being a warm day. The other approach, of course, is the old sinker. I've got a dye 3 on. I can fish that nice and slow. You can probably see a bit of a sparkly there on the point fly.
Very nasty business.
So I've got some natural stuff, and I've got the nasty stuff, you know, the dark side of fly fishing.
Yeah.
This is often the way.
I want you to know, Ian, these days I'm very much the gentleman, and I shall be fishing a floating line with buzzers only. I shan't be shilly-shallying around with that sinking stuff.
I'm sure I can persuade you to swap that.
You probably can, but it really, for me, I've got to be honest, I'm really looking forward to learning about the buzzer fishing because I really love buzzer fishing,
Yeah.
but I'm conscious of the fact that I've got so much to learn, and I know that it's a style that you excel at, so that's the bit I'm really looking forward to. So I probably will stick with the buzzers, but if you want to fish with those great big horrible things, Ian, then that's perfectly all right with me. All I can say to you is they don't count.
I do it.
Aye, Captain. Oh, we're turning left. Are we joining the Armada?
We are. We're going to go and join that French Armada in that corner.
So Ian, we've got Elboy behind us.
Yep.
Now in terms of casting, is the idea to cast as far as you can?
Because the fish are deep, you need to cast a reasonably long line to allow your flies to get down. But presentation is much more important than distance. Get your flies to turn over. As soon as they hit the surface, they're fishing.
So really this is the perfect buzzer breeze, isn't it?
This
this
is
little corduroy. I think in Trout and Salmon magazine they call it a corduroy ripple. Now, once the buzzers have landed on the water, what's the next stage?
allow them to drop. But what's important is I've allowed them to get out there, but instantly I've got control of the line. Give the line a little pull, let your line, get your line down, and just keep hold of your line. A lot of people chuck it out and just let it go slack, and as the flies are sinking, fish will pick them up, and you'll never know it's been there.
Okay, so I'm out there.
Yep.
I know my leader's turned over.
Yep.
So I give it, what, a pull?
That's it. That's it, perfect. Get the line nice and straight.
Yeah.
Just keep your line tight with a steady figure of 8 and just let them drop.
So I'm going to use, a slow figure of 8 to keep up with. Am I going to move the flies or let them dead
let them
drift?
get down. If you're moving them, they're staying high in the surface. The trick is to get them down there. And once they're down there, then you give them a bit of movement. Just a long, slow pull like that. And what that does, Matt, that brings the buzzers up like this.
Yeah.
And when you stop for that pause, they're doing that. They're dropping back down again.
Right.
The buzzers are rising and falling, which is what the naturals do, and the fish just can't resist them.
So these buzzers, they live their life presumably on the bed of the lake, and then they hatch by swimming up to the surface, do they?
That's right, yep. Very precarious journey for them.
But you mentioned that they go up and down. Now, what's that all about?
A lot of it is water temperature. You know, they'll have a little, what they tend to do, mate, you'll see them, if you watch a natural, it'll wiggle like that, and it will stop. You know, maybe it's exerted all its energy, and then they tend to fall a little bit, and then they do it again, and then they'll fall. And by this long draw and stop, you're doing that, and then when you're dropping, your buzzers are going back down again.
Right.
And what will often happen is you'll give it a slow draw, and what's key is you instantly get back in control of your line with a slow figure 8 like that. And as they drop, it just all locks up.
Okay.
And it's fantastic when it goes.
So to imitate that natural rise and fall, it's a steady draw, and then into a figure of 8, just to take up any slack line.
That's it. Yep. More often than not, the best way to fish a nymph is absolutely stationary.
Yeah.
You know, too many people are keen to do this. They'll be figure 8 nymphs like this too fast, not getting the pull, and it's a matter of just slowing it down to a fraction of the speed, and that'll make all the difference. And the same when you lift off, Matt. A good slow lift, again, imitates that rising buzzer. But this is probably one of the most successful ways to get the fish is on that final lift. And too many people are keen to rush their flies out, and this can be the most deadliest part of the cast.
Well, I know that this is something you were very, very keen on when we fished at Lechlade, this steady lift to induce the fish to take. So that was a lesson well learned for me.
Some of the rules you apply in the small waters, it's exactly the same on the reservoir, it's just a bigger version.
Yeah.
The same things, you know, the gentle lift, the control of the flies, the drop, it's all the same.
I mean, I've just changed the angle of my cast. Is that a good thing to do?
It is, yeah. What you want to do, because there's very little wind and we've got a slow drift, you're just covering different areas of water. You've probably chucked a couple of casts there, put one there, use it like a face clock, you know, you're doing the right thing, just cover the different angles, so you're covering fresh water and fresh fish every cast.
Yeah, that's what I've always done, rather than just keep chucking it in the same place every time.
Yeah.
So at least I've done one thing right.
Yeah, if you remember, every cast should hit a fresh bit of water. That's the way to look at it.
Well, I've just managed to sneak one off Ian's side of the boat. He's actually got his flies in a tangle. So it happens even to world champions. And the old master has just sneaked one out from his side of the boat.
We call that poaching, Matt.
Well, actually, it was very interesting because I got that fish by just drawing. You know, you were talking about just lifting, giving the line a little tweak. Just as I tweaked, I found myself connected to my first Grapham trout.
Do you want to have, Matt? I'll pass you the net.
Well, normally I have a gilly to do this sort of thing.
There you go, sir.
I'm not used to netting my own fish. Now, I've got my flies in a bit of a tangle here because he's jumped up in the air and tangled my bottom fly with the middle fly, so I wouldn't be any good in a competition because that's going to cost me time.
Nice fish.
Well, it's especially nice because I've caught it and you haven't.
There's time, Matt, there's time.
That's a very nice fish, actually. Beautiful condition, super fish. Clean, nice colours, bar of silver. I think we should stop now, Ian.
Well done, Matt, nice fish. Yep. Hey! That was short-lived, Matt. Got one on as well.
Well,
Look at
I've
that.
told you the whistle's already gone.
There's a song in football, you know, Matt. Something like, "You're not singing anymore," it goes. Well, that's took the buzzer. There seems to be quite a lot of fish rising around here. Bear in mind, you've got to keep your top dropper away from your tip ring. Many people will pull that straight into the ring, and this is where the fish will get lost. But they are powerful little things. Would you like to pass me the net, Sir Matt, please?
No, I wouldn't.
I'm sure you'd love to do that. Thank you. Again, keep the rod tip nice and high. Let the fish play into the rod. The rod will do the work then. The fish will tire much more quickly. And when his head comes to the surface, raise the rod over your right shoulder, or left if you're left-handed, like Matt. And the fish should, what they call, skim into the net. Nice long reach. And there it is, Matt, that's equalised. And I believe this is maybe a fraction bigger.
Do you know what? You've just ruined a perfect day. And in fact, I've got to go further than that. You've actually ruined this DVD, because all the people back at home were thinking, yes, Matt Hayes has got one and stuck it up him. And you've ruined that now. Not
a typical size of a Graffham fish, but a beautiful silver specimen all the same. If you look closer, you can see, as I predicted, it's taken the old crisp packet buzzer there on a size 10. I mean, we've seen the natural fly coming off. They are black. There are some olives and some greys, but that's as good as you can get. The plain crisp packet buzzer, tied in a size 10 hook. I think we're on the right course with these flies today. Well, I've just changed my tactics a little bit. I'm now fishing with a dry fly on the point and a team of buzzers above what's called a washing line rig, because I absolutely love catching fish high in the water. I know that Ian's probably going to give me a right pasting in terms of the numbers, but I don't care. I'm going for the quality of the sport. Just love to see that shuttlecock buzzer go down. A nice head and tail rise. That'd do me. What line are you on today, Ian? I'm on a 3-foot clear tip. This is a non-stretch 6/10 line. We've been a flat calm, and then these fish on the nymphs, the takes are going to be quite gentle. And the good thing about this is you'll feel every tiny little knock. Oh, there you go. Every tiny little knock, just like that. Here we go. Another fish on. This one, a little bit more ponderous. I'm optimistic. It might be one of the bigger fish that you get here at Graffham. I know that there are some beautiful fish in here, and this one's a little bit less lively, so I'm optimistic he might be a slightly bigger fish. We've got fish rising round us now. And I just missed another one, Matt. It's taking off now. Look at it go. Hey! Now it knows we're here. I think this fish has just seen the boat. Look at it go. Fantastic. I can't give it too much. I'm using some 6-pound low diameter fluoro. Oh, he's going underneath Ian's line, and he's hooked one as well. So what do we do now? Oh, this should be fun. My fish is on a mission. It's got me almost down to the back. I'll get mine round the back of you, Matt. Or maybe not. This is the trout fishing version of the military two-step. This fish has taken me all the way down to the backing, and now he's coming at me at a rate of knots. Want a double, Matt? We're in as well. On that same black buzzer again, just up from that booby, hanging in back, maybe 3 or 4 foot down. What I've done, I put a little cruncher nymph booby on the point just to hang the flies near the surface, and it's doing the trick. Yeah, the fish are coming a little bit quicker now. Well, he still won't come up. Oh, he's going nuts. You can mess around with those small fish if you like, but the one I've got on's a submarine, I think. What, £1.5? Well, not quite as big as that. No, it's a big fish, mate. There we are. I'll slip this one back. I'll get Sir Matt to the net because he's got a submarine on, so he tells me. Ruth, this is a great, great fight. And I know I've got a very good fish on here because I've seen it. There it is, big, thick-shouldered thing. Oh, look at that, Matt. Right, I'm going to net that one for you. It's a brute. Something special, this one. Well, you know, Ian, I don't mess around with the small ones. You're doing it again, Matt, aren't you? You're showing me up. I think the big brown trout are quite rare here, aren't they? Well, this time of year they tend to be a little bit rare. Later on they tend to show themselves. Just watch your top dropper in that ring, Matt.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Well done, mate. Well done.
Oh. That's a handshaking fish, that one, Matt. Well done, fella. What a fish. What a fish.
Well, I suppose I better show it you. I'm quite used to catching fish like this. Of course, it's not no big deal for me, really, but look at that. That is a wonderful fish. It's a proper resident brown. These fish actually can live in this water for many, many years, actually. And they are difficult to catch because they feed on the natural stuff. You will get them stripping lures deep and things, certainly in the winter months, but I'm very lucky to have caught this fish, all joking apart. You can't plan to catch something like that, but that is a magnificent fish. It's my first visit to Graffham. I couldn't have even dreamt that I'd catch a fish like this. I think it's certainly every bit of £5. It might even be a bit bigger.
It's a good £5.
Beautiful fish. What a result. I'm delighted. Let's put it back. I'm going to hold it by the tail. Now I'm just going to give it a few seconds to get plenty of oxygen down. It's cold water, so go on, Mr. Brown Trout. There he goes, swinging his tail. Back for a good old sulk. Well, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Well done, Matt. Absolute beautiful fish.
It was. I think I shall retire back to the clubhouse for tea and medals.
Just moved into this area, we've got a few moving fish, and what's quite important is I've come over quite quietly on the engine, but I've cut the engine off and we're still drifting freely. What you don't want to do is reach your spot, turn the engine round on the spot and then start fishing, because that's where you're going to fish and you've just spooked them all. So we're just gliding a good 10-15 yards into where we want to be. We can see the fish moving. Quiet, stealthy approach when boat fishing is absolutely important. If you rush it, you're only going to scare the fish you're trying to catch. So just take your time and be really quiet, cut the engine, have a bit of free drift, and get into the right area, and it will pay dividends.
I think what Ian's just said makes an awful lot of sense, but there is another point as well, that if you look at where we are now and look up the line of boats, there's no prizes for guessing where all the fish are getting caught today. But seriously, you've got this line of people fishing, and of course if people would just go blazing in anywhere they felt like it, it wouldn't be long before you got fisticuffs at the reservoir, and that would not do, of course. So there is an etiquette involved, and it's really only respectful to make sure that you actually get into the line or fish away from the other anglers. Don't just jump in on their drift. Now today it's a little bit more tricky because it's flat calm and no one's really going anywhere. We're just kind of drifting around in the same area. So the sensible thing to do is to pick a bit of water away from the nearest boat to you and give them their space. But if we were in a drift situation where everyone's drifting along parallel to the bank, what we should do is to go to the top of the line and take our place in the drift, not cut in. That's really, really bad form, and not the sort of thing a gentleman does.
We've got a seriously big fish coming up in front of us now. That's a cracking fish. The other side. Oh. This one, Matt's put that little cruncher booby on to hold the flies up, and believe it or not, this one has took the booby. It's very nymphy and it can act as an emerger, but it's come up and it's just bow waved it and just swallowed it. It's not as big as your fine specimen. There we are. Well, this one has taken a cruncher booby. Now, the good thing about this booby, it not only holds the flies up, but it looks very natural as well. So the fish will take this as an actual hatching insect. One of my favourite flies is the cruncher, so I stuck some polystyrene eyes on the front as well, just to make it sit high in the surface to hold the other nymphs up. And that fish couldn't resist it. You can see there are a couple of little scrapes on that. It looks like a pike bite to me. A single scrape normally means a cormorant's had a go, but it's got several good holes in there, so pike's will have a go at. So let's let him go and give him the benefit of the doubt. He's escaped the pike, and we don't want to put this one back. You can see a lovely, lovely long silver rainbow. Not a big fish, but again. Oh. Merry Christmas to you too, matey.
taking that, so I covered the fish there, and he didn't want to know. I'm now fishing with 2 dry flies, purest stuff.
When your flies hit the water, Matt, give it a good strip to sink it.
Yeah. Come on, baby.
The good thing about these 6 Sense line, Matt, is a lot of the fishing with these nymphs, I like to be visual. I like to see the line move, but if you don't see the line move, and in these calmer conditions it is a little bit easier, but in a bigger wave, if you can't see the line move, you certainly feel the take. I mean, some of these takes, the tiniest little dink, and you can feel it at your fingertips and the fish is on. Yet with your conventional lines, you're probably going to miss those. So if you can't see the line move, you're certainly going to feel that line tighten without a shadow of a doubt. And God, these fish are hitting it hard. You can see some of the big clarity red buzzers coming off now. And here we go again, look at that. A silly nymph, Matt, done it again. Oh, we got a jumper this time. He thinks he's going to win the battle. Let's have a look. Right on cue, as we say. Just felt a little dink on the line shot away. Put that dry on, Matt, and the dry shot away. It didn't take the dry fly, but it acted as a nice little float. I've seen it zip away, and another fish yet again on that crisp black buzzer. But the dry's still holding them up. So you can fish your dry fly and watch it, and if a fish doesn't take that, it acts as a float. Your dry fly will shoot under. So you're covering 2 methods with one. You've got dry fly fishing and you've got nymph fishing. 2 in 1 method. You can't beat it, I don't think. You can see that buzzer again, right in the scissors there. Classic place on the nymph, straight in the scissors. Again, black crisp buzzer. Plain, simple, so deadly. Let's chuck him back in there. We're going to get another one, and let's get our little slimy friend who's, again, not quite the size of Sir Matthew's, but another fish. It's on the nymph again, Matt. It's taking the top dropper, which would indicate the fish is high in the water.
Oh, there's some beautiful fish rising.
Good fish moving. I'm going to change my colour of dry, Matt, to a black.
Well, I tried a black one earlier on, and it didn't do me any good, but I think it could be the presentation. I'm going to switch to a lighter leader.
Yep. I think this one, Matt's taken the olive cruncher. My favourite flies. There's 1 or 2 olive buzzers coming about, and there's 1 or 2 on the car windscreen this morning, which made my choice quite simple. Don't be afraid to look what's happening around the car park. Now you can see the fly there. A dark olive cruncher. Right through the top nostrils, slip that back, and he's ready to go back. Another cracking silver Graffham fish. Is that 8, Sir Matthew?
I'm no longer competing, I'm fishing the dry fly.
It might be a leisure day to you, but this is a competition.
Well,
TV superstar and all that.
Well, I'm really keen to try and catch a fish on a dry fly. Ian's still caning them out on teams of flies, but I'm really persevering with the dry, and this is a fly called Bob's Bits. It was tied up originally by a guy called Bob Carnell, and I think there's a story about a big brown trout he caught on one of these flies. It was about 7 or 8 pounds, and it was basically made up of all bits off his tying bench, and it's a really nice buzzer emerger type fly that gets trapped in the film. I've been persevering. I've tried a claret one. I'm going to try a green one now. The big problem today is that it's so flat calm. We've got some beautiful fish rising around us. And I know that I could catch more fish by fishing with the buzzers. Ian's proved that. But I'd really love to get one on a dry fly. But I'm up against it because it is so calm. There's nothing to disguise the leader, you know. But I'm going to persevere, and you never know. Sometimes the sun shines on the righteous.
Typical competition mode, I tend to get my fishing quite quick, but as you can see, this one's giving me a bit of a scrap, and it is nice to enjoy a good fight. After all, we are out on a nice pleasure day and enjoy the fight. But in a competition, don't be afraid to horse it. I've got £10 line on there, I've just let go of the line. It's not going to break the line. You may tear the hook out. But an old theory of mine, the longer that fish is in there, the better chance he's got of staying in there. So, you know, don't be afraid to give him a bit of welly. You've got something special, you know, take your time. You don't want to lose a good fish of a lifetime. But a little fish like this, I'll say little, it's still giving me a good run for my money. Again, it's about £2, but if his head's up, keep that rod high. Let him fight that rod and get tied out quickly. Don't be afraid to give him a bit of welly. Get his head to the surface if you can. Head up, skim, and miss. Car park leader, Matt, one of yours. It's about a foot too long, I think. Ah, this time we got it. There we go. You can see those bright yellow booby eyes on this booby in his scissors. You know, not only is it just a lure, but it's an attractor. It brings the fish in. Lets them come and have a look. You can see those real fluorescent with a pinky wing on it and the fluorescent orange under the eyes. That fish is going to see that a mile away in this slightly coloured water. Don't always catch the fish on the booby, but often what you find is you find the fish take the nymph that's 2 or 3 foot away from the booby, so the booby's drawn them in, and he's come in and take that, but it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger.
Now that wasn't on a dry fly, was it?
No. You're pleased to know it's on my tink, the black buzzer.
I'm going to have to go back on these buzzers, it's nuts really. I've spent about 3 hours on a wild goose chase, so I'm giving in, I'll admit it. He's caught another one. If you can't beat him, join him.
It's one of these infamous Graffham rainbows. If we can get a look at it, you can see he's gone under the boat. I've got full pressure. He ain't budging. Just like Matt's big brown, you can tell it's more of a dogged, slow. Yet the small rainbows are jumping and leaping and screaming away. These are just more dogged, deep, slower fights. But you can't do a lot with them because of the weight of the fish. I like to horse them in, but even Mr. Barr ain't going to get this one on here. He's still full of fight. Look at that, Matt. He's 15 yards, 20 yards away again. Just had him under the boat. These boat seats come in very handy. Look, you can sit backwards and rest your arm on it when you get a big fish like this. Look at that for comfort. Perfect. Often the way at Graffham, you'll get the better fish out in the open water. Don't be scared to drift these big drifts, but be prepared for a scrap. This one is just taking the Michael.
Oh yes, that's a lovely fish.
But when you get a fish like this, you've got to be prepared for a good old scrap. I mean, I've got a £10 line on, I've got a powerful Enigma rod on, but I can't beat it. Oh, look at that, Matt. Look at that. Head back.
That's a really nice fish. Not as big as mine.
They're like
it's not bad for a beginner.
I'll maybe give you yours a slight fraction bigger. But
yes, mine was a brown. Yeah.
Look at that. Matty had the brown. I've got his brother rainbow. Not quite as big, but 4.5 pounds of solid silver Graffham rainbow trout. This is why you travel the country for these. An absolute beauty. Look at that. Look at the tail, it's like a shovel. You can see the silver glints in the tail. That tells me it's overwintered. He's been in here since last year. And it's just solid. It's a beauty. Chris Packet buzzer again, Matt. Same fly. It's taken 9-10 fish today.
It's a very, very nice fish, mate. And I think, to be honest, with fish like that around, you've just got to go with the flow and try and catch them, you know, rather than get stuck into all the purist stuff. I'm back on the buzzers now. I notice you've speeded up your retrieve there, Ian.
I have, Matt, yeah. I mean, the boat's actually drifting. Now, buzzer fishing isn't about moving the flies. Buzzers are best fished static. But what we're doing now is, as the boat's drifting, we're keeping up with the boat by figure eighting the same speed. So we're trying to retrieve our line at the same speed the boat's drifting, so the buzzers aren't moving towards us, but they're still sitting there static. If you leave the line, don't retrieve it quick enough, you get a slack line. But if you're retrieving it too quick, you obviously bring the buzzers towards you, which is not natural. So as the wind picks up, your retrieve should get slowly faster and faster. As the wind drops, again, it should get slower. So as your boat drifts, just try and keep your figure eight up to the same speed as the boat. And you'll notice it quite simply. If you're fishing too slack, you'll see the kink starting to appear along your fly line. This illustrates that you're not keeping up enough line speed, you're not retrieving quick enough, and you're getting slack between you and your flies. Now, if a fish pick those buzzers up, you would never know they're there. If you're fishing too quick, you'll see the line at the edge of the rod tip would be doing that. It'd be lifting off and moving, creating the little rings. That means you're actually retrieving your flies too quickly. What should be happening is that the perfect retrieve, if you look at the edge of the rod tip, you'll see there's no movement and it's just sitting there. If you look down the line, there is minimal kinks. And that will tell you that you're in perfect control between the nymph on the end of your fly line and the line in your fingertip. So what that means is I've got the perfect retrieve at exactly the same speed as the boat is drifting away. I'm bringing my flies towards it, so the flies are actually static, no movement whatsoever, which is the best way and the only way to fish buzzers properly. Oh, you got a nice one, Matt.
I'm not really sure yet, actually, Ian. It's hard to tell. I don't think it's a huge fish, but, you know, I spent 2 hours messing around, 3 hours messing with dry flies, and it was just too flat calm, I think. They just wouldn't look at the artificial. And I switched back onto the buzzers, and I'm into a fish straight away, which is coming right up to the surface now. Oh, it's really going for it. It's shaking its head like crazy. Oh, lovely fight. Lovely fight.
Water slab.
Yes, that's a lovely fish.
Well done, Matt. You've done it?
Yes, I couldn't let you have all your own way, you know. I mean, you kept shouting out to me, 8-2 and whatever it was, and knowing damn well that I was fishing the dry fly. Well, that is a beautiful rainbow. And the hook's come out in the net. I'm very lucky there, because it could have been in a right mess. Ian is absolutely right. This is the quality of the fish that you come to places like Grafham for. You know, you can go to places and catch much bigger trout if you want to, on small stalking waters, but this is a beautiful full fin fish, top fighting condition, deep cold water, absolutely magnificent.
And what a scrap, Matt.
Beautiful.
Look at the tail on it.
Super fishing, super fish.
Cracking Grafham fish, Matt.
Thank you.
Cracking slab.
There we go. There he is, look. Just one last admiring look. It seemed that we'd actually arrived on Grafham on a perfect day. Just a very light ripple, some sun, some cloud. It was absolutely perfect for fishing one of my favourite techniques, the buzzer. Ooh, that's a nice fish. Nice little jumper. I'm hoping that this fish has taken my top dropper. And the reason for that is that we noticed that on the surface of the water, some of the buzzers that were hatching were really bright red. So I put a bright red one on, but it hasn't taken that one. But you never know, the bright red one might have attracted it. I just tried to match the hatch, you know. Ian's into one as well, so it had absolutely nothing to do with my master stroke.
There we go, Matt. Hey, we've got a jumper as well. Whoa, look at that. Acrobatics.
Well, I was just going to give myself an enormous pat on the back there for pulling a good stroke, but not to be. Just that we moved over a pod of fish. It's interesting, actually, that we've started to use a number of short drifts now to keep us on the fish. There is a temptation to just keep drifting and drifting and drifting, but quite often you can drift off the fish, and when they're really on, and they have been, it's probably better to keep making shorter drifts and keep yourself on those fish. It's a very, very good tactic. Obviously, if you're not catching, it's worth covering the water. But these fish definitely shoal up, and they feed in pods, because basically they follow the hatches. So if you get on a really good hot area, don't be tempted to go on a mega long drift. Take yourself back round and keep covering the fish while they're feeding.
Very powerful, these fish.
They are very
you,
strong,
Matt, I can't get
aren't
mine in.
they? No, it's amazing. I mean,
I'd say ratio, but I daren't.
I've caught much, much bigger rainbow trout in my time, but I don't think I've caught harder fighting fish than these.
Now, the Grafham's well known for this type of fish. Hard fighting rainbows. Look at the tail on that. Not a massive fish, but an absolute bar of silver, which is very typical of Grafham fish. If you just take a look at that tail, you can see it's quite a full tail with a silver rays through it. This is why they fight so well. They've got a great big paddle, propel them through the water as you're fighting it, giving it some of that. This is why you've got a big scrap on. It's got that straight through the top. This is a classic way you get a fish on a nymph. You get them straight through the top jaw, straight through the nose. You can see the fly there. And simply, if you just push that back, they tend to drop out very easily. Comme ça.
Well, I must say, I'm really astounded by the sheer fighting quality of these Grafham rainbows. I think the fish I've got here is a little bit bigger than the one that Ian caught, but it fought like stink. And, you know, it's amazing the quality of the fishing here. It's not so much just the size of the fish, although by reservoir standards these are very good trout. It's the way they fight. They scrap like demons, and I can understand why people are really addicted to fishing here at Grafham, because these are absolutely beautiful trout. They're as good as any rainbow trout you'll find anywhere in Britain. Top quality fish. And that one's nicely hooked just in the neb. Look at that. Beautiful. Not a big trout, probably an average fish. It's got a nice full tail, beautiful colours, and it's fighting fit. And that's what cold, deep water does for trout. They love it. You know when they're ready to go, because you just feel the tail kick. If they make a kind of weak kick, don't let them go. Just hang on to them for a little bit longer until you can feel the strength return. There he goes.
See, Matt's just put his fish back, I've just put a fish back, and we talked about the importance of short drifts onto the fish. Next cast them straight to another fish, and this one took on the lift. They often associate the lift and the hang with deep sinking lines, but you do exactly the same with the buzzers. You lift them up and you just hold them there, and this rod tip just shot away. Exactly the same with the lures. But we found some fish and it's thick and fast, so what we'll do next is we'll go round a nice big arc, steer clear of the water we just fished through, don't go racing through it. Come back round nice, slowly, nice and stealthily, and fish through the same fish again. You'll catch these fish again on the next drift through. It's another good fish, Matt. Until they go under the boat. Here we go. And when you get a fish under the boat, if you put your rod under the water like that and steer it out, just simply put your rod under, and there it is, it's come straight out. Don't be afraid to put your rod in and just steer it. You're in control. Pretend it's a little dog and just steer him on his lead. Of course, I've got this sixth sense line on and I'm feeling every little bump and thump and tap. It's a great sensation right at your fingertips. This is what gets me about fly fishing, is the take and the fight. Coarse fishermen, tend to play it on the reel. With fly fishermen, I tend to hold the line and you're feeling every little tap. And these sixth sense lines are incredible. You feel everything. Tingles at your fingertips. It's just great. Just when you think he's beaten, he has a little bit of ounce of fight. A lot of people may just rush it, and this is when you'll lose them. Oh, Matt's in again. This is incredible. We're on Matt, there's no doubt about that.
Well, Ian's absolutely right. It's really fast and furious fishing. And, you know, they're quality fish. We're not catching just recent little stock fish. These are really lovely fish.
I've been playing this fish 2 or 3 minutes, and it is still full of life. It's still pulling line away. Still wanting to get under that boat.
It's a nice fish, that, Ian. Another nice fish.
They tend to feed on this daphne, on these buzzers, and they're full of protein, and they just build muscle and muscle and muscle so quickly. And in the clear water, obviously, they're going to see the boat as well. They're going to see me. Makes them all that more spooky.
Now, that was a terrible mistake.
Let the cardinal sin, drop her in the net.
Drop her in the net.
And line it, Matt.
Dreadful. I was too anxious there. With all my years spent fishing, I should have known not to do that. I've got away with it, but I was lucky. I actually lunged for the fish, snagged the dropper in the net, and that could have cost me a really big fish.
Come on, Matt, look at this. £4 solid silver Graffham rainbow. We aren't fishing for stockfish. These are grown-on fish, feeding hard on the nymphs, and we're catching them almost every chuck. I mean, we've had 4 fish in 5 minutes. Matt's taken a couple, he's missed a couple, I've had a couple. Absolutely superb. And this fish is just an absolute belter. Let's just get this hook out and we'll get him back. Now, this is actually taken one of my old Graffham favourites. It's a canary buzzer. It's yellow thorax and black. Helps it stand out a little bit, and these Graffham trout certainly love it. I've actually qualified for England fishing this very fly.
Well, I fish with slightly lighter rods than Ian. I tend to favour a 6-weight. Just for the sport, really. I'm a gentleman after all, you know, and I like the gentle art of the dry fly rather than this slash, bang, crash, wallop type stuff. But each to their own. Ian's methods certainly get the fish in quicker. I think I get a little bit more sport. It's a lovely silver fish once again. I'll get that one quickly back and he'll be fine.
Right, Matt, we'll head back up the drift. But what we're going to do is, we're going to take a nice wide arc so we don't motor through the water we're just about to come back through. It's quite important because a lot of anglers will race back, too keen to get back to where they've just been, where they just started. So we've made a little marker between these two buoys, nice and wide, nice and stealthily, nice and quietly. Line the boat up on the same drift, come back through. Another 3 or 4 fish each, I reckon, here. It's important as you approach your drift, nice and quietly, nice and stealthy. Keep the engine res really low. Steady the ship a little bit. But you want to get a little bit of free drifting, so you're not stopping the boat right where you've just started. That allows you a nice bit of free drift onto a nice bit of clean water. And this is the drift we've just been on. And what we've done, we've come right the way around, nice and slowly, so we don't